This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Hello. Well, let's get back to it.
Extreme weather conditions continue to ravage parts of Europe, and there's no good sentence that includes the word ravage. An excessive heat warning is in place in Italy. Freak tsunami waves hit the Balearic Islands. There are huge floods in the French Alps and deadly wildfires ripping through Turkish villages. How is it apart from that?
Oh, fabulous.
The mercury rose to 42 degrees centigrade in southern Italy today, while hotels in Sicily have turned tourists away amid a drought on the island. They ain't got no water. In Spain, dramatic video has shown a moment a huge wave, too much water, surged over the road in the Balearic resort of Puerto Alcudia? No idea, which is an area popular with tourists. A similar video emerged today of a freak wave washing away sunbeds in Menorca. Not Majorca, Menorca. But the flash floods were nothing compared to the torrents of water that hurtled down a mountainside in France, devastating an alpine village and forcing its inhabitants to evacuate by helicopter. Meanwhile, in Turkey, 11 people have lost their lives and dozens have been injured as a huge wildfire swept through several villages overnight. In neighbouring Greece, authorities evacuated several villages in south of Athens and in the southern Peloponnese region because of wildfires. Italy is also bracing for wildfires and warnings that the heatwave, combined with dry conditions, could produce the ideal circumstances for blazes in areas like Sardinia and Sicily. And a famous Swiss ski resort has been hit by flooding and landslides after a river burst its banks. Streets in Zermatt, a quaint village situated under the shadow of the distinctive Matterhorn, was left impassable after being deluged with water. But it's not climate change. We know that because those nice companies that extract oil have told us so by putting out adverts with multicultural smiling people against a green background, like a Benetton ad. So it must be right. And anyone who says otherwise is an eco-loony or a crusty or an activist or a terrorist. And every single one of them is an enemy of the people. Not an enemy of all of the people, just an enemy of the right sort of people. You know, those whose fortunes rest on us keeping on the path with the warning signs.
Warning, warning.
The signs that say, go back, danger, threat to life. The path we're being driven down by those that ignore those signs because they only have eyes for the pile of money that's got their name on it. Just to follow the KASH. Text and tweets from last night. Jamie says, Shania Twain is a legend. I can tell you 5 singles she released. You're Still the One, When, From This Moment On, Man, I Feel Like a Woman, and that don't impress me much. Well, I think you're sharing a bit too much, Jamie. And what are those 5 singles by Shania Twain you were talking about? Emma says, the lovely lady regarding tomato sauce and neutralising fox poo is 100% correct. She is 100% on it.
I am totally 100% on it.
Totally 100%. I have always used passata or tomato juice. I have it standing by just in case. Just in case. Just in case your dog rolls around in fox poo. She says the acid and enzymes in tomatoes neutralise the fox poo stench. Once, my mum didn't clean the golden Labrador properly and had an orange dog for 2 days. It's like an eco-loony had thrown powder on it. And Mick says SZA, which I believe the kids pronounce as scissor. Is that right?
Scissor, yeah.
Yeah. Are you a kid?
I've heard kids.
You've heard of kids? Yeah, me too, yeah. Or, I mean, you know, I've met some of them. I'm not that keen. Scissor is playing Hyde Park next Saturday. Green Day is at Wembley. Pearl Jam at the Spurs Stadium. Burner Boy at West Ham Stadium. There's London Gay Pride and England might be playing. The West End is going to be horrific as you attempt to head home at 1 o'clock on Sunday morning. Oh, great. I'll bring a tank. And emails. I recently introduced my granddaughter to voting at our local elections. She was not impressed. She came out of the voting booth totally unimpressed with the technology and shouted, "Oh my God, unbelievable. We have to put a cross with a pencil. Anyone could rub that out."
Correct.
That, your daughter is correct, your granddaughter. She is completely correct in every respect. Anyone could rub that out. And Dave says, Nick, have insects finally learned the green cross code? Dave says, Nick, have insects finally learned the green cross code? As in, not get hit by cars. And an anonymous email says 20-mile-an-hour limits save our lives, but it does also save insects, which would be fine if it just ended there, but it doesn't. It then follows with an exclamation mark, a question mark, and then another exclamation mark, like they're shouting at me quizzically. I was going to talk about this yesterday, but I'll just read this in passing. And I'll do it in a voice. From Kate Middleton at Trooping the Colour to chatty Carol Middleton enjoying Ascot and Prince William's passion at the Euros, seeing the royals out and about has lifted the mood of the nation, says a royal expert. It's no secret that the British royal family have endured some difficult times in recent months. However, a spate of recent engagements from members of the firm have boosted British morale, including Trooping the Colour, Royal Ascot and England's recent 2024 fixture against Denmark. Yeah, you remember that?
Boring!
There's 2 hours we won't get back. Royal expert Richard Fitzwilliams told the Mail there is no doubt that appearances by members of the royal family have lifted the nation's mood in the past week. Yeah, there is doubt. I myself have doubt. In fact, I do not think that appearances by members of the royal family have had any effect on the nation's mood whatsoever. What you're talking about, you royal expert, you? He said, these events have also reminded us how integral royal events are to the traditional British summer, especially in June. They're not remotely integral. They've got nothing to do with most people's experiences of the summer. What is this person whittering on about? He said Princess Kate's joyful appearance at Trooping of the Colour boosted many royal watchers' morale. They were delighted to see the princess looking happy on the palace balcony. Boosted their morale. In what parallel universe was the morale of the nation boosted by that? And what kind of person is a royal watcher, by the way? And how uneventful would their lives have to be to have their morale boosted by the appearance of a person they don't know on a balcony they can't see for a matter of minutes? Further joyful royal photos emerged following England's most recent Euro 2024 fixture. Describing the Prince's attendance, royal expert Mr. Fitzwilliams said, William, the president of the FA, was wonderfully animated when rooting for the Three Lions at the Euros in Frankfurt. The team's disappointing draw with Denmark followed its unimpressive victory over Serbia. However, some of the highs and lows of the occasion were mirrored in his body language. He also interacted extremely well with King Frederick of Denmark. Despite the Three Lions' lacklustre performance, he helped keep up the flagging spirits of the fans. No, he didn't. And I say that without fear of contradiction, that Prince Whatsit did not keep up our flagging spirits. Spirits kept up our flagging spirits.
Booze.
It's the silliest article I've read all year. And it's a packed list. And emails. I've read that one. Your granddaughter was absolutely outraged. That whole pencil issue. Alan says, hi Nick, we in Bulgaria cannot drive without my windscreen being covered in dead insects within a couple of metres. Like me, I think they've emigrated to get away from the crazy UK. Yes, we're driving insects away. Because they come over here. Abby said, did you just say kill less insects? These are texts and tweets from last night. Last night I perhaps did say kill less insects. Abby says, you better not let Ian Dale hear that bit, or you'll give him a heart attack. He would prefer you say fewer insects. Take that as a kind act from me, says Abby. Well, Ian Dale can use any manner of language he likes on his own blooming show. This is my blooming show, and I'll ruin it as I see fit. By the way, Ian Dale was in the news today. Well, one moment, please. Where is it? Hang on a minute. I have full details. Wait 1 second. This is taking longer than I thought. It must be buried underneath another piece of paper. 1 minute, please. I must find this. This is excellent stuff. Where is it? Is it on the back of something I've already thrown away? Hang on a minute. Wait. I can't find it. Oh, no. I am distraught.
Oh, no.
Well, I'll have to regroup and find it later. Ian Dale was in the news today. Did you see that? How can I not find that? I've got the Rishi Sunak and the driving licence, sleepwalking towards Labour, GP shortages, water diseases. Ah, here it is. See? Not completely useless. But now I've run out of time before this ad break, so I'll lay this on you just afterwards. Isn't it exciting?
No.
Forthcoming attractions. Joanne emails, can you educate me? Well, I'll just go ahead and assume the answer is no, but ask anyway, Joanne. She says, why is Sunak still called a Prime Minister? Did he not give that job up when he called the election? Surely he should be called acting Prime Minister. No, he's still the Prime Minister. He's just not an MP anymore. He's an acting MP. Well, not even acting, really. He's just barely gripping it.
I'm gripping it.
He is actually gripping it. I take that back. And he's 110% on it.
I am totally 100% on it.
He's only giving us 100% at the moment. Simon says young people who refuse national service should be forced to watch England play football. Well, that's a cruel and unusual punishment. I think I'd rather take the whipping. And that was interesting as well. This is the whole driving licence issue, and I'll put that on the list of things that I'm going to talk about later. Look at that switchboard. Is anybody enthused about what I'm talking about so far?
No.
Is the switchboard working? I think this is one of those occasions when we check to see if the phones are working, because every now and again, they don't.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Everything is going extremely well.
You bet your life it is. So this is the story. This is another one of these stories I was going to read yesterday. Rishi Sunak threatened to revoke young people's driving licences and access to finance as possible sanctions for refusing national service. Hey, kids, wake up, sheeple. It's later than you think. And for those who didn't register to vote yet, it's too late. You didn't participate, you get nothing. It's a simple equation. Here's the percentage of people registered to vote as of 2 years ago, and I'll assume that not much has changed since then. Those registered to vote aged between 18 and this is not even the number of people who went to vote. This is just the people who could be bothered to register to vote. Aged 18 to 19, 60%. Aged 65 plus, 96%. Now, I'm no maths expert, but I do believe that 96 is a larger number than 60. And that's just registered. Of course, more older people will be bothered on the day to get out of the house and go and stand in a plywood booth to make their pencil cross on a piece of paper, regardless of whether somebody comes along after them and rubs it out. It doesn't seem very secure, a system, does it? Pencil we're using. And that's why, during the debate on Friday night, when asked what he was going to do for the young, the DREA leader said, national service.
What?
He did. He did actually say that, didn't he? Some kid in the audience, in that, and I don't mean to say anything unpleasant or disparaging, but the people in that, some of the people in that audience did look like they were of a different species, didn't they? I mean, that's not a rude thing to say, is it? They did not look human. Some of them looked as though they were, from a sort of a feeder species, a species that fed into human beings. Others had mouths that looked like the broken tombstones of a disused cemetery. and some just flat out looked like aliens. It was just a weird looking audience. And one of them, who I don't recall what they looked like, but I'm sure that, they were extremely attractive in every regard, both inside and out. They said, what are you going to do for us kids? And his answer was national service, which I don't think was the answer they were after. Yeah, that's not really doing something for us, I would think, kids would be pondering. That's rather us doing something for you. Working for free, just to appeal to some old people who know that they won't have to do any of this stuff, but can't stand that younger people, are gadding about, smiling. What their knees work and all, and they probably have an outside chance of having interpersonal relations with each other.
Disgusting.
Awful. So Rishi Sunak, in answer to the question, what are you going to do for the young, said national service. No, that's what you're going to do to the young, not for them. So you kids don't vote. That's the problem. So you get to do menial work for no pay under threat of having your driving licence taken away, or, weirdly, your access to finance removed. Where did that come from? I mean, can you imagine if he'd said that about pensioners? Yeah, we're having trouble affording pensions, which is true, we are. So all you over 65s will just have to help out for free. Doing jobs that are needed in the community. There'll be a tsunami of outrage you could see from space. But he would never say that, because old people vote and young people don't. Oh, it's like so boring. I don't want to. They're all the same. Nothing ever changes. People like that. And the first young person to call and say that, they can't be bothered to vote because they're all the same gets their bank card cut up in front of them and receives a damn good thrashing. This is going to hurt you a lot more than it hurts me. And when asked about what sanctions people could face for not taking part, Rishi Sunak pointed to access to finance, among other examples. And asked if this meant taking away people's bank cards, he laughed. So is that a yes, then? He laughed. He seems to laugh at inappropriate times, almost as though he's, I don't know, that he doesn't speak the language very well. And just thinks that this is the moment at which an ordinary human being would laugh, so I'll just interject some giggles here. Maybe somebody's standing off screen with one of those boards. Applause or laughter or look sad. And as though to put the cherry on top, right on top of the cream cake, he said his two daughters were excited about the prospect of national service. Yeah, they're excited about the prospect of national service for other people, maybe. There's zero chance they'll do it themselves. I mean, how are they going to do that? By commuting from California. 0345 6060 973. Belsize Park. Judy.
Every time I phone you, I start off with a sigh.
Yeah, what's that about?
I'm in a state of such total confusion.
Oh, cheer up, Judy. It might never Oh, no, that's right. It already has.
You are going to have to help me out with this.
Please help me. I need your help.
I need your help. Right. National service.
Yes.
Conscription.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be no penalty, first of all, we were told, if you don't do it. You
Yes.
can do odd weekends.
Apart from the penalties, there will be no penalties.
Now, here's my problem.
Yeah.
I have heard the dear leader say one of the consequences of not joining in the national service, for which if you don't there is no penalty.
No penalty, yeah, apart from the penalty.
They will take away your driving licence.
Your driving licence,
Now,
yes. And you know what that will do to kids? Because they don't only use their car to drive, they use their car to park in lay-bys with one of their significant others.
Disgusting.
Awful.
No, here is my confusion.
Yes.
What happens if you are a person who has chosen not to learn to drive and therefore does not have a driving licence,
yeah,
which can be taken away from them?
Yeah, that's a good
point.
So
are we now telling our young people, you have to go and learn to drive in order that if you choose not to do your national service, we can then take away your driving licence and rip it to bits. Now, what will the penalty be? Sorry, I can't speak. What will the penalty be for not learning to drive?
National service. There's a hole in my bucket, dear Liza.
Yes, because I keep thinking I didn't hear him saying what he was saying.
Yeah.
So I keep using your excellent service to listen back to past speeches.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I am in such confusion. So what I would like you to do homework and clarify for me.
Homework? But, miss, it's the weekend.
What is the penalty now on young people not learning to drive?
They get to march up and down the square for 6 months.
No, I'm not joking. I'm being serious.
Right. I think there's going to be financial penalties. Your access to finance will be removed. I've got no idea what that even means. Does it actually mean he's going to cut up your bank cards in front of you? Well, I mean, can you imagine? Because nobody uses cash anymore, especially the kids. They don't even know what cash is.
Nobody uses cash anyway.
No.
I mean, the shops have signs in the windows saying, because of burglars and stuff, we don't have any cash here. They only have... So I am
no shirts, no shoes, no cash. That's what they say.
I'm sorry to keep repeating myself because that's really boring, but I am really concerned about, for instance, I have 2 grown-up grandchildren. One of them is learning to drive. Right. The other one has no wish to learn to drive.
Yeah.
So should I be saying, well, you need to learn to drive because in case you don't want to do the national service, you've got to have a driving licence by law in order for them to be able to tear it up.
Yeah, they'll probably work around it by, if you don't have a driving licence, then they'll just cancel your Uber account. You're walking. I'm
sorry. And also, the young person who noticed about don't tell me I'm paranoid, about the cross on the thing being done with a very small, soft lead pencil.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the one that keeps on getting thrown out the polling station because I don't want my electoral roll number recorded against my ballot paper. And also, I want a none of the above box.
Well, you can write that in yourself, can't you?
Well, they count it as a spoiled paper, but I want that read out at the count.
Yes. I think that's a good idea.
I think it would be a salutary lesson that we can have a none of the above box.
Yeah.
And they read it out.
But what if none of the above won?
Then you have another election.
Oh, well, but what if people just vote for none of the above again?
You keep on having it. You can do anything because... The rules that are made by the government are so bizarre that things that I used to be suggesting that everyone told me I would start raving balmy are now sounding quite sensible.
Well, let's not get carried away.
All right, sorry.
Kids don't want to drive anymore. They want to go everywhere, but with Uber, they want to get their refreshments in, booze or whatever it might be for the evening, and they want somebody else to drive them here and there.
Well, can we get this clarified from the dear leader as to what happens to people who do not have a driving licence and don't want to? I have a driving licence, but I don't drive. Am I going to be in trouble?
Almost certainly, Judy, yes.
I haven't driven for 50 years.
I would double lock your front door and close the curtains. Don't answer it to anybody, all right?
And also, nobody has knocked at my door to even inquire how I might like to vote.
Haven't they? In Belsize Park? Well, they just assume that you're voting...
You can assume away.
But it ain't necessarily so.
But it ain't necessarily so.
All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Judy. Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. 0345 6060 973. Sam says, my favourite Brexit moment was when the Irish Taoiseach telling the press that he wants to get Brexit wrapped up because he wants to make it to the Cher concert and be able to enjoy it. Well, when was that? We'll believe in love. Since I had that thing with my throat, I can't hit high notes anymore. it just cracks. I know there's so many people on the radio are talking like I am. Their voice has dropped. I've got no musical knowledge, but I'll just say octave because that sounds right. But there's a sort of a crack in their voice. Have you noticed that? So many people.
Sorry, Nick.
Oh, that's all right. Wasn't listening to me. He's in there listening to Classic FM. I know it's relaxing, but I'm trying to do a show here.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Oh, hello.
Dan emails, what will you do for material if we do actually get what we want in the election? I mean, there's still plenty of pain to come, but I fear after the mass Schadenfreude event of July the 5th, 2024, trademark, there may be a case of diminishing returns. And, well, what will the satirists do then, says Dan? Well, even if everything goes as expected or desired, depending on your opinion, we'll still have Agolf Twitler. You know, the tangerine toddler, Trumple Thinskin, Hairspray Haystack is going to be a part of our lives for a considerable period, right up until the end of the year, I betcha.
Don't be rude.
So, the satirists will have their books full. All time will be full of that. And as for this trademark phrase, the master Schadenfreude, if only the Germans had a word for Schadenfreude. James emails, I am shocked that nobody corrected you after last night's discussion on the longest day. You said the Earth moves around the Sun in a parabola. Our orbit is actually an ellipse. Yeah, it's weird that. I woke up this morning and I thought, was that right? Parabola. That was literally my first thought this morning. How weird. Our orbit is actually an ellipse, says this smarty pants. He says, any fool knows that if we had been on a parabolic trajectory, we'd have come out of nowhere, had a brief period of warmth, and briefly skirted around the sun, then shot off into the dark oblivion of outer space forever. Actually, that sounds quite nice around about now. Will it make it all stop if we did that? Can we call that back to square one? He said, if your listeners had studied maths as per Fisher's dream, and maybe a bit of physics until the age of 18, everyone would have spotted your obvious and glaring error, says James. Appreciate it, James.
Thank you.
Matt says, I'm in Sardinia right now at 11 o'clock, it's 22 degrees. Well, ordinarily I wouldn't like that kind of information, and I'd ask you to keep it to yourself, Matt. But it's thoroughly pleasant around these parts at the moment. In fact, I will check that for you while you wait, because they do tend to change their mind on a daily basis about what it's going to be like. Oh, wow, look at that. Holy macaroni, it's actually going to be summer. Can you believe it?
No.
This is in London. 77 degrees tomorrow, 81 on Monday, 82 on Tuesday, 81 on Wednesday, and 78 on Thursday. And then the following week it goes back down to the late 60s, and it's going to be raining. Oh, well, never mind. Let's have London. Marion.
Hello.
Marion.
I wanted to ask you, because you're absolutely the right person to do it, whether you could help me launch a campaign. I am sick and tired of the show-offness and the one-upness and the smarty pants, as you've just said, of the leader of Reform. And I think he needs to be brought down a peg, which would happen if we called him Nigel Farage instead of Nigel Farage.
Well, doesn't he call himself Nigel Farage, depending on how he's feeling?
Not Farage as in garage.
I'm pretty sure he's called himself Farage.
Well, I think more people should, because it cuts him down to size.
But I think Farage is more him, because I know his act is beer and a fag and a flat hat, but that's not really, that's just an act, isn't it? That's not really him. He's more,
Farage is an act as well.
He's more Farage than Farage.
Yes, but he should be Farage, because he's a nasty little twerp.
Well, that is your opinion, Marion. Other opinions are available. On the other hand, he's not a nasty little twerp. Yes, on the other hand...
This is absolute tosh.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks a lot, Marion. Very, very angry. John says, what's the reason for Boris Johnson saying, yeah, wait a minute, on your soundboard? What, you mean this?
Yeah. Wait.
What is the meaning? What is the reason? I can't remember. He says, I found the great big greedy nincompoop John says, I found the great big greedy nincompoop clip, but I couldn't find the other one. Well, why are you looking for it, mate?
The great big greedy nincompoop.
Just leave it to me. I'll play. I am a trained professional, John. Don't you try this at home. And Kath texts, Greta warned of global warming, and she was called a silly little girl to go back to school. That's all. That's the extent of that text. I know. And she wasn't a silly little girl, and she seems to have had plenty enough learning to put people twice her age in their place, which she has done on many occasions. Gravesend. Hello, Sharon.
Hello.
Sharon.
Hi, Nick.
Yes, Sharon.
Good evening. How are you?
Great, mate.
Yeah, you make me laugh a lot.
Thanks.
Yeah, sometimes your alliteration is amazing. But anyway, what I want to say is, first of all, that I am an immigrant, I suppose.
You're a what?
An immigrant, I suppose, in the sense that I grew up in this country, but my parents came in 1965 from Burma. We had to wait 2 years to come to this country. And what I'm thinking is Rishi Sunak is basically forcing the young people to do one of two things. Interesting that you said that his children won't be doing it because they're in California.
Well, yeah, but even if they're not in California, does anybody seriously expect that Rishi Sunak's kids are going to be marching up and down a parade ground? I mean, come on.
That's exactly what I said, and not on your station, but another presenter said, I think that's a bit unfair that you brought them into it. And I said, maybe... No,
he brought them in. He brought them into it. I mean, once you present your kids as a benefit to your campaign, then it's perfectly acceptable for other people to mention them in passing.
That's exactly what I said. I said, I'm not attacking the children. I'm saying that he's not going to allow he won't let his children do that. He won't make them do that.
Not a chance.
And I would bet, to get £100, honestly, I would bet £1 million that they're not going to be doing it.
$1 million?
You know what I mean? Yeah, but I mean, their mum's a billionaire, for goodness sake.
I know.
Anyway, what I'm told is, the other day...
She works hard for that money, Sharon.
Yeah, I know she did. God knows what she does, but anyway. But did you see the other day that 750 people, I could not believe it, my mouth was literally open. I mean, literally open. 750 people arrived in one day on these islands, right? Mm-hmm. And they will be signing on JSA shortly. They will be getting temporary accommodation while British nationals sleep on the streets. And also, eventually, they will get permanent accommodation where some of them probably won't want to work and don't even speak English.
Well, no, wait a minute. Wait. Back up. You just said a lot. Much of it I can't recall, but I'll go back and try and deal with some of it. The temporary accommodation, and then they get. Well, what would you prefer? That they came here and we just left them on the beach? No, they get some. Hang on a minute. Wait a minute. So they get some kind of roof over their heads because that's what decent, civilized people do. Now, the amount of times that I've heard that, they get accommodation while our people are sleeping on the streets, as though it is an either-or. It's not an either-or. It is a political decision that people are living on the streets. Some people who have served this country in the military are sleeping on the streets, and that is a national disgrace. But they are not there because other people have come here and got the accommodation before them. We are rich enough that we can do both.
I work for a homeless charity. I volunteer with a homeless charity. I see homeless people.
Right.
I totally agree with what you said, but you didn't allow me to finish. What I'm saying is, why isn't Rishi Sunak asking people who have come to this country to contribute as well, since they have come in illegally? They have broken the law, though.
Yes, but they haven't. It's a phony law. There is no such thing as an illegal seeker of refuge. There's no such thing. You know what? It's painful. I can't get into this early in the show. You should call me back on Sunday when I do serious things, if this topic does in fact come up. But I hear the same thing over and over and over again, and it's just excruciating. I can't deal with it anymore. And it's the same like taglines. Why are our people on the streets and these people get they get a house and they get a Rolls Royce and they get a 3-course dinner at the Savoy and all of these things, and our people are starving to death as though we can only do one. We can do both. And 750 people in a day, as opposed to these 750,000 people that came in clutching a government visa last year. It's practically a million people. But no, we don't think about those. We don't talk about those. We just concentrate on a few bedraggled, damp people who've shown up on the beach. And if you really want to get into it, the people who come here, immigrants, are more economically active than the average British person. They contribute more in taxes than we do, on average. So we will be poorer socially and financially with their absence. But like I said, talk about bringing the mood down, crying out loud. Blimey. Any texts to cheer me up? Bob says, these extreme weather flooding conditions are not new. I seem to remember that Britain burst its banks in 2007. Anybody that you can think of that was partially responsible for that?
This government.
Yeah, exactly.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Right, so what are we doing?
Doing a radio show, Given. Try to keep up. 0345 6060 973. James emails, what is it about this country and its obsession with the past? Last week, I watched with amusement some of the ceremonies and processions for the King's birthday. The King's birthday! And the Order of the Garter Day and all of that stuff. How many bears had to die to make all those Grenadier Guard hats? How many birds were killed to get all those feathers they stick into those ridiculous hats? Don't the royals know that wildlife are at risk? Just ask David Attenborough. Well, the royals would ask David Attenborough, but they're too busy blasting ducks out of the air. And then claiming their green credentials because they turned the thermostat in one of their castles down by 2 degrees. We appreciate it, Your Royal Majesties.
Thank you.
David says the funniest outcome of the election would be for the Tories to only retain 2 seats. Liz and Rishi's.
Absolutely.
And Paul said, heard in the news today about sewage tomatoes where tomato seeds are growing after they've been through the sewage system. Thoughts?
Disgusting.
That's my thought. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Yeah. I'm going to do something serious, but not too depressing, hopefully. We've been talking about national service and Sunak wanting to take people's licences away from them. Now, that is okay. You can make flippant of that, but the serious bit about it is who the hell's going to deliver the pizzas?
Who is going to deliver the pizzas? I don't know, but if it doesn't arrive within 30 minutes, it's free.
I mean, they always round on the little twist and goes, don't they? I mean, they're all kids. And what's going to happen if he starts taking all the licences off them? I'm furious with those things. It's the way they drive them. And I don't think it is, not round here, not round these parts. Maybe in East Yorkshire it is, but round these parts, it's they seem to be older than kids, and the kind of people that that nice lady that I was just talking to would disapprove of. And they just hang on the back of your car, and they're like a cloud of mosquitoes. You just can't get them off you. And you're driving down the road and you're swerving because it's potholed, but you can't look for the potholes and look out of the windscreen and check both mirrors, both side mirrors and your rear view mirror to see where this cloud of motorbikers are with pizzas on their back. I don't know if to do it with you, but round here we've got quite wide cycle lanes.
Oh.
And they're blaming things undertake you in the cycle lane.
Mm.
They don't seem to understand that cycle is what you do with your feet and pedals.
Mm-hmm.
They just use them for these delivery things. And they go whizzing up the inside of you. You're doing 30 and a 30. And they go past you at like 45 on the inside.
Yeah.
A law unto themselves. That's right. Yeah, they really are a pain. But that's our future in our high-wage, high-skill economy. Ain't that right, Bodge? Yeah, we're going to be delivering pizzas for the few people left in this country that have actually got any money.
That's something like that. But the other thing is the argument about Farage and Farage.
Yeah.
Well, it just struck me that when I was young, quite a few people I knew were New Age, and they were hippies, and they had a fantastic time when spaced out all the time. I thought, well, think about Farage, and you think of someone like Smug way in the past, in the sort of in the distance, and perhaps we could call him Farage.
Farage, yeah. I've got a clip. I'm pretty sure well, let's hear it.
Nigel Farage is not fit and proper to be in government.
Farage, okay, Farage. He said Farage there, but I'm pretty sure I've heard him say, Farage, not Farage, Nigel Farage. So I think he changes the pronunciation of his surname depending on which way the wind goes.
I think so. But and didn't he drop a clanger today when he said that Putin had a reason? What a clanger if he said an excuse. He might get away with it because he's excusing by fault.
He's been saying the same thing for ages. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It's Nigel Farage faced fury as he suggested that the West was to blame for Russia invading Ukraine, which is odd to me. I mean, why the fury now? I mean, he's been saying that since before the war began. Year after year, he appears to have been saying what Vladimir Putin would have said at any given moment if Vladimir Putin spoke English.
Yeah, and Trump jumps on the bandwagon by saying anyone who doesn't pay their fair share into NATO, he would encourage Putin to invade them.
To invade them, yeah.
Like a terrible end, really.
Yeah, I know. What a way to run a planet, eh? All right. Thanks a lot, Mike. The Reform leader, Nigel Farage, made the claim that NATO and the EU provoked Vladimir Putin in an interview for Panorama. He insisted that the eastward expansion of the Western alliance and political bloc of NATO had given a reason for the Russian president to attack. And he also spoke of his admiration for Putin as a political operator. He likes him as a political operator. As a political operator, Vladimir Putin silences critics by arresting them and placing them in prisons in Siberia, and then having them killed if they don't pipe down. And he poisons those who speak out about him. And he has people thrown from balconies of tall buildings. And anyone who stands in his way is got rid of. What exactly about such a monster does Nigel Farage admire so much? And, like Mike said, Donald Trump too. Farage and Trump are alike in their puppy dog enthusiasm for a murderous dictator, which is odd. Admiring people who have the power that you would enjoy isn't odd. What is odd is that they feel perfectly comfortable saying so in public. And then, senior military figures accused Farage of playing directly into Putin's hands. Former Defence Secretary Ben Wallace said he was voicing sympathy for a dictator who deployed nerve agent on the streets of Britain. It's curious that the right wing are very free in calling people that don't agree with them enemies of the people and traitors and so on. What would they call a person who admired the operation of a person who deployed chemical weapons on Britain's streets? And in that Panorama interview, Farage was challenged that in February 2022, as the latest intense phase of the invasion began, he posted on social media that it was a consequence of EU and NATO expansion. And Farage replied, he said, I stood up in the European Parliament in 2014 and said, there will be a war in Ukraine. Why did I say that? It was obvious to me that the ever-eastward expansion of NATO and the European Union was giving this man a reason to say to his Russian people, they're coming for us again and to go to war. Amazing, really, that anyone could say that there's a justification for the slaughter of innocents abroad because their country wanted to decide its own fate. Particularly him. I thought he was all about sovereignty. I mean, what would he say if Putin invaded this country? Because we had given aid to Ukraine or money to NATO. I mean, if NATO expansion is the problem, then we have been a country that funded NATO. Where would Mr. Tells It Like It Is Farage be on a Russian attack on Britain? Would he say that we brought it on ourselves because we didn't do whatever Vlad the Insaner wanted?
And you know what? To get a sense of where we are, just read the comment section under stories like this in the press. It's absolutely stuffed with pro-Putin fan worshippers. Or useful idiots, as I believe they are called in Russia. That's what I heard. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Alex Aylesbury.
Yes, hello.
Alex.
Literally, I could listen to you for hours. You just make my heart feel amazing.
It sings.
Everything you say, yeah, that as well.
Yeah,
that. Everything you say, Nick, you are so positive.
Every little thing I do is magic. Every little thing just turns you on.
No, it's not magic. But everything you say is totally what I'm thinking.
Completely correct in every respect. That's true.
Yeah, okay, yeah, kind of. Yeah, maybe.
Right.
But, you know what, Nick? You are, everything you say is in such a positive, even though, you know, everything you say is just like, but you are the most amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
you're amazing.
I am
you're
amazing.
Positive.
Yeah.
You are awesome. Everything you say is absolutely positive.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just love you. I have listened to you for years now.
I appreciate that, Alex. I appreciate that you love me, and in return, I like you. Cheers, my dear. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
0345 6060 973. Don't forget, I am amazing. Dan says, put royal watchers on a boat and push them out to sea. Martin says, I despair. Under 25-year-olds are more likely to lift their phone at £5 a text to vote for a dancing dog on Britain's Got No Talent, rather than vote for their future at a general election. It's not £5 a text, is it? He says we should introduce punishment for non-voters. P.S. I am sure that the English team will get booed and jeered off the pitch against Denmark. Well done lifting their spirits' wills. I'm not will. No, that wrong tense. I'm sure the English team got booed and jeered off the pitch against Denmark. Well done lifting their spirits' wills. Oh, right. Okay. Now I get it. Yeah, the response at the end of the Denmark game was... Yeah, which means that Wills did not lift our spirits. Yeah, thanks a lot, Wills. See what you've done? Not lifted our spirits. What with your presence and all? Your most fabulous majesty. Tom emails, an advertisement in this week's Metro newspaper offered me an irresistible opportunity to buy a £50 note bearing King Charles' face for £54. £54?
What?
For a £50 note. That's a no from me. And furthermore...
No.
I got one with his face on the other day. Not a £50 note, of course. I can only dream of getting a £50 note. No, I'm pretty sure it was a 20. Or it might have been a 10. Could have been a 5. But anyway, it just looked wrong. Not my queen. And he says, my husband takes a pen with him to the polling station as he doesn't want someone to change his vote. Well, that's just good advice. Are you allowed to do that? Take your own pen? Or do you have to do it in pencil? Why is it a pencil and not a pen, by the way? That is highly suspicious. Somebody should look into that. And Jordan says, spoiled ballots are counted and read out, are they not? Yeah, but that's just spoiled. I mean, that implies you're such an ocean-going numpty that you don't know how to put a cross in a box. Doesn't it? I don't think that it sort of has the same effect as a none-of-the-above box that would be counted up and, read as though people had deliberately made that choice rather than they went in there and couldn't figure out how to keep a cross inside a box on a piece of paper. Spoiled ballots. Yeah, they get ignored. But a none-of-the-above box, well, that would make waves, particularly if none of the above won. And then I think we'd default to Count Binface being our next Prime Minister. Well, it couldn't be much worse, could it?
Absolutely
Not. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Okie dokie.
This is absolute tosh.
Thanks, Nige. You're the best. Rafi says, Nick, you're wrong.
Oh, what?
I'm a young one and I want to drive, says Rafi. But I have to consider the car, the insurance, the road tax, the petrol, the congestion charge, the parking charges, the dash cam, etc. And it's a small mortgage thanks to this government. Which one?
This government.
This government. Yeah, unbelievably large amount of money for a young person to drive, or anybody, really. It's just massive now. It's ruinously expensive. Get yourself an account with your local cab company or an international conglomerate that has taken over cabs in this country. Select. Richard says, who's Taylor Swift? I have no idea. I mean, she's a person that seems to have... Has she actually taken over the world, or are newspapers just so lacking anything to write about that this is the way they're all going at the moment? Just endless pictures of Taylor Swift on stage in sparkly outfits. I still don't know the name of any of her songs. Do you know the name of any of her songs?
Sorry, Nick, I've just returned from making a cup of coffee.
He's just been out having an assignation.
Disgusting.
Can you believe that? Right in the middle of this show. He just couldn't help himself. He said, right, that's it, I'm leaving. I have no idea who Taylor Swift is, but she's absolutely stuffing the internet right now. I mean, you can practically not move an inch on the internet without coming across some Taylor Swift story or other. And there doesn't seem to be any real story there. She was married to or going out with, I've got absolutely no idea, some American sports person. You know American sports, don't you?
Boring.
Yeah, they're all really dull. They last for about 8 hours and nothing ever happens. Anyway, she's going out with one of those people, and 8 bazillion people want to see her all at once in every stadium that she goes to, and I've got no idea what she sings about, or who she is, or anything like that. No, not a clue. Which is a bit weird. I mean, I know her audience is probably 12-year-old girls. I mean, I'm not in that demographic. But you'd think I'd know at least one song that she sings. I mean, ask me about Beyonce, and I can tell you all about her country music album. And the one that goes, So I know a little bit about Bouncy, but nothing at all about Taylor Swift. So don't ask me, Richard. I'm the wrong person to ask. This says, you can use a pen to mark your ballot paper if you wish, but if the ink isn't dry and you fold the paper, it could mark another box and spoil the vote. Right. So is that why they use a pencil then? Or is it just that pencils are cheaper? But you can rub a pencil mark out and replace it with another one. So somebody should be definitely looking into that. This is a story about Rishi Sunak. They had a garden party, a summer garden party. You didn't get invited? Rishi Sunak appeared to pull up the white flag of surrender at the Conservative Party's summer garden party fundraiser, with what guests saw as an admission that he will not be the Prime Minister after the 4th of July. The event at the Hurlingham Club, one of London's most exclusive venues, on Thursday was meant to be one of the party's major fundraisers during the year, and came in the middle of an election campaign where the Tories have, according to insiders, run out of money. No, they haven't. They're absolutely stuffed with millionaires, the Conservative Party. Fishy Sunak is a billionaire. He could fund that entire party just by the money that he found down the back of the sofa in one of his helicopters. What are they talking about? Sunak was due to attend, but because of the BBC Question Time event, he only appeared by video message instead, while other cabinet ministers made an appearance. The highlight was supposed to be an auction of different lots where wealthy supporters like Lord Ashcroft would bid on these lots to help raise the party funds. One included a classic election campaign poster from the past, which Mr Sunak promised to sign personally, with his own hands. However, when the lot was being offered to guests, they were assured that Mr Sunak will, quote, sign it before the 4th of July, so it will be guaranteed to be signed by a sitting Prime Minister.
What?
Huh. Guests told The Independent that it was taken as a sign that Sunak and his top team have given up and raised the white flag on winning and are resigned to defeat on the 4th of July. Another lot offered... this is where it gets good. Another lot offered an evening with LBC radio host Ian Dale and Mr Sunak's political secretary James Forsyth and Cabinet Minister Michael Gove.
Major capital letters, big news story.
It reportedly went for £30,000, but according to those present, someone shouted out, I'll pay money not to have an evening with them. Oh, you know what? I'll pay 40,000. It went for 30. I'll pay 40,000 not to have an evening with them. No, 50,000. Make it a round million. I mean, I haven't got the money, but I'll find it somewhere. I'll start an OnlyFans site, a GoFundMe page. I'll sell an organ. A picture of the Foreign Office, signed by 9 foreign secretaries, went for £20,000. Is that the 9 foreign secretaries we've had in the past 14 years? And if ex-Defence Secretary Grant Shapps signed it, does that count as 5 people? Tory sources said the evening raised £700,000 or 100 million rubles. However, it comes as insiders have told The Independent that the party ran out of money on day 2 of the campaign. The latest donation saw the Conservatives in 3rd place behind both Labour and Reform UK. The Tories raised 292 grand. Farage's Reform got 335,000 and Labour raised £4,383,400. Wow. All of which was given by kind people out of the generosity of their hearts and should in no way be assumed that the larger the sum given, the more the donor wants some payback for their cash. That would be wrong of you to think that. 0345 6060 973. Bradford, Mohammed.
Hi, good evening, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my friend. I've been listening and I always tune into LBC. And I'm a big fan of all the presenters, especially of you, my brother, because, the way you present the show is not biased. And you say it as is, my brother. You say it, and you really make it in a funny way. And honestly, I'm really...
I appreciate that, Mohammed. Thanks very much.
There's a lot, Nick, there's a lot well, thank you. There's a lot happening in the UK right now.
Is there?
I mean, well, I work in the public sector for security, and
you work in the public sector for security. What does that mean?
Well, I think I got that mixed up a bit, but I work in security. So in a supermarket, the thing is, it's my own opinion is on this stuff. From what the UK used to be back in maybe 20, 30 years ago, it's gone down, my brother, honestly. I'm sure you agree as well.
No, yeah. I don't. I do not agree. Well, it depends on what you're talking about. Down in what way? Down, deeper and down, like status quo?
Rock and roll! I mean, in terms of, it just seems everybody's miserable and just grim and just at each other's, I mean... crime is quite common nowadays, more common than it used to be. I mean, machetes, street fights, what's going on with that?
I don't know. Leave it with me and I'll investigate further. What is going on with that? Somebody should definitely look into it. Thanks a lot, Mohammed. Cheer up, mate. It might never Oh, no, that's right. It already has. Hang on. Wow, I just drank a coffee too quickly and some of the air that was in me had to come out. Awful. Not that way, the other way. Not that way, the better way, but I still didn't want to share it with you. Woo! Mike texts, there could be method in Rishi's madness. If the kids were rewarded for serving in the army, say £30,000 a year, their pay could be held back and then given as a lump sum at the end of their service. They would then have a start in life. They could put a deposit down on a flat or something, or buy a lot of drugs.
Want to score some pot?
Well, that's just a fact. They're not going to get 30 grand at all. No one's going to get any money at all. I don't think so. There's no plan to pay anybody for any of this stuff. It's not going to happen. Don't worry about it. As soon as he said it, I thought there's absolutely no way on earth that any of this is going to happen. It's just an attempt to try to appeal to the aged conservative fan, you know, the 65-plussers. And they love a bit of that because, they think that the youth are a bunch of layabouts, as did their grandparents think the same thing about them. And their grandparents thought the same thing about their grandparents, and so on until the end of time. Or the beginning of time, actually, more accurately. Will says, a better question to put to Sunak would be if one could cut national service to attend an important interview. A better question to put to Rishi Sunak would be if one could cut short national service to attend an important interview. Okay. I was expecting more of it than that, but yes, I suppose so. That's a good thought, Will. Hold on to it. Both hands. 0345 6060 973. Oxted. Pat. Yes, Pat.
Oh, hello.
Pat.
Yeah, Nick. Putin is sort of beginning to make a blooming nuisance of himself again.
Rootin' tootin'.
Got any ideas? What makes anybody want to be a blooming dictator?
Money.
Doesn't he get the urge to go out and play a game of golf or collect stamps or something?
I'm sure he's got all the stamps he needs, and he's probably got his own personal golf course.
Bored, isn't he?
Power
All
and
he
money,
does
that's what
is
it's about, honey.
Get onto people's feet.
Hmm.
I don't know. What do you think makes them like that?
I think it's a disease. Once you get power and or money, no amount is sufficient. You always want more. Apparently, that's my observation.
Spend it.
Yeah, I don't think it's the spending. I think it's the having.
Well, he needs a wife like me. I'd spend it for him if he liked to earn it.
Pat, I'm going to pass your number on, and I wish you the very best. All right.
Okay.
All right. Just don't drink any of the tea.
Warning, warning.
And don't touch any doorknobs or anything. Ahmed emails. I went to my local video shop the other day and I said, could I borrow Batman Forever? And they said, no, you'll have to bring it back tomorrow. Sandy says, listening from Palmer, you've got me laughing out loud with your funny and very true comments. I'm an immigrant and you've made me happy, says Sandy. Because they go over there, refuse to learn Spanish, and demand British food. We don't want that paella muck. Shartex, there's something to cheer you up. You can listen to old Phil Hendry on Spotify. Is this the fella you meant? Well, I don't know. You've spelt it correctly. He's on Spotify, is he? I tell you what, Phil Hendry is an amazing talent. Well, you're all right, I'll say it. I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. There was a station in Miami, and the best, outside of LBC, the best radio lineup I ever heard in my life, and forced me to have the radio on for like about 8 hours a day, was Howard Stern in the morning. He used to do like probably still does, like a 5-hour show, or however long he wanted to go on for. I mean, that was literally his thing. He would do 5 hours and then just carry on for as long as he wanted. And keep in mind that he was on multiple radio stations, like many, many stations all over the country, and they just have to wait till he finished. There was he was out at the news or anything like that. He just carried on till he was done. So it could have gone on forever. And he was followed by Neil Rogers, who's the greatest radio or the greatest comic talent in any medium I've ever heard. And he was followed by Phil Hendry, whose act is absolutely astonishing. And if you didn't know what he was doing, you would have no clue that he conducts his show like this. He has about 50 different characters that he does, the voice to. And they call in his show and say outrageous things. And then people who aren't aware, people who aren't aware of what he's doing then call in to complain about the guest. But he is the guest. It's just he does it so perfectly. The technique is so spot on. You would swear that he's actually talking over himself. It's amazing what he does. And if you get the right clips, it's just hilarious. But that's the beauty of the World Wide Wait. We appreciate it, that bloke who did the World Wide Wait. What's his name again? God, how quickly we forget. Or I do, anyway. What's that bloke's name who did the World Wide Wait?
Is it Bernard someone?
Bernard someone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bernard someone. We appreciate your efforts. 0345 Bernard someone. Bernard someone. Or some other name. Yeah, we've got no idea.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
I just want to tell you all how happy I am to be back in the studio, making a picture again.
I hope that you're writing this stuff down, kids. The inventor of the internet was Bernard someone. This is a very, very educational show, no?
No.
And by the way, that's not Bernard Sumner. He was in New Order. How does it feel? Lucy says, does Farage admire the palace that Putin built using the embezzled proceeds of the Russian state? The same Farage who claimed that he wanted to reduce the influence of corrupt EU bureaucrats. Is that the palace in that place that he had he staged the Winter Olympics? Can't remember the name of it now, but I believe it's 8 times as big as Buckingham Palace.
What?
I think that's actually correct. In square footage terms, 8 times as big as Buckingham Palace. This fabulous place that he's built for himself. But he doesn't actually... I don't think the paper trail ends at him, but he's the only person who could walk across its threshold without wiping his shoes. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Walthamstow. Hello, Joe. An ecstasy of fumbling.
Darling.
Yes, Joe.
How are you, Nicholas?
I am great, mate.
You all right?
Yes, super. Thanks for asking.
Nicholas, that was Richie Sunak.
What?
What's his name? The Prime Minister Richie?
What?
The Prime Minister, is it Richie's name?
I'll look into it and let you know.
Yeah, no, about him in the National Service, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
They're too young.
What?
They're too young to sign up.
Who is?
The people, the teenagers that he wants to sign up for National Service.
They're too young?
Is it 16 upwards?
I can't recall off the top of my head precisely what the age is for this fantasy that he's got going, but yeah.
Yeah,
but you can join the military when you're 16.
Yeah, it's like me, he's too young.
Too young?
Yeah, he's too young, Nick.
In what respect?
About 19, 20, I reckon, not 16, about 19, 20, Nick.
Right, okay, I'll make a note of that. Thanks a lot, Joe. I'll assume that it's my fault. Everything that happens on... this is the only thing that's on LBC at the moment. Can you believe that? Dorothy texts, Shake It Of, F, is fantastic song by Taylor Swift. I'm pretty sure it's not called that. Shake It Of, F. I doubt it. Mark says, why does Itchy keep thrusting his shoulders and chest forwards when trying to be taken seriously. It makes him look like a... Can I say that? Huh?
Yeah, I'll go with it, yeah.
Oh, well, how about you say it?
Fine, I will. It makes him look like a randy pigeon.
Oh, really? You believe that? The show was going so well, apart from that. Jen says, did you know that during the changing of the guard, the Queen's Horseman played Taylor Swift's Shake It Off? Ah, off. Well, that makes more sense. There's money well spent. Nothing surprises me anymore. The Queen's Horseman played Taylor Swift's Shake It Off. I think that this country has lost its mind. Well, I think the whole world has lost its mind about this whole Taylor Swift issue. Nobody over the age of 12 has any idea what Taylor Swift songs sound like. That's just a fact. Stop thrusting Taylor Swift down our throats. I mean it. David texts, I'd just like to say that I'm absolutely impressed that it's only taken 8 years for Gareth Southgate to get the world-class professionals of the England football team playing just like he did. It's a wonder to see the Ray Wilkins sideways and backwards method being utilised in our international team once again. Long may it continue, well, as long as they stay in the tournament. Well, the next one has got to be better than that. I mean, that was just embarrassing. It made me not want to watch the next one, but I suppose I'll have to. That's the price we pay for being English. Southend, hello, Peter.
Hello to you. What can I go and get for now Nigel Farage?
What?
What can I go and vote for him? The reason why he has this time, on this occasion, 1,000,000% got my attention. I will never, ever support those two or those three others who say, oh, he's anti-British or whatever they said, treasonous or whatever. No, the man's talking the truth.
Right, well, 1,000,000%. OK, thanks, Peter. Nigel Farage is 1,000,000% correct. That is mathematically accurate. People said that it was a full moon last night, but it's actually full moon tonight, isn't it? Is that right?
I'll fact check.
Yeah, we're going to fact check that. Jen emails, did you know that during the changing... No, I read that one already. This says, I cannot express how much I am appalled by your assistant taking time off to make coffee. What's wrong with tea? Yeah, that's right. What's wrong with tea? British tea, made in India. That's what we want, not foreign coffee. Let me see. Let's try this one. see what we get here. Q, Lily.
Nick, hello.
Lily.
Hi. Hello.
Finally.
Hello.
Yes, Lily.
Yes, so a couple of weeks ago, I was at the races at Killarney and I was looking at the race card and I had to call you because there was a horse called What's Your Problem?
Really?
And I thought you'd be interested. Yeah. It's called What's Your Problem? And then I checked. I was, obviously intrigued. So I checked on the Racing Post and its mother is called What Are You Saying? So it's just totally true, honestly. I just thought I'd tell you about that. But it reminded me that in the 90s, do you remember Steve Wright had that show where he had all those characters in the afternoon?
Yes.
And he had, I think one of them, Mr. Angry. There was a horse called Mr. Angry, and he announced it on his show when it was going to be running, and all these people bet on it, and the odds were really good on this horse. Or no, they were nearly even because so many people were betting on it, but it was a bit duff. So loads of bookies sent him beverages to thank him for doing this, and I was just, I didn't want to give you any ideas, but you know.
Well, if I mention a couple of names right now, I might get a box full, like Tattinger, for instance, or Paul Roger, something like that.
I mean, absolutely, yeah, or a Stella at least. But yeah, it's What's Your Problem? I think it's a good each way bet. I don't think it's a winner, but yeah, definitely worth bearing in mind.
There's a nag with your name on it, Carol.
Oh right, yeah.
All right, excellent work. Keep your eyes peeled. Thanks a lot, Lily.
Thanks.
Cheers, my dear. Ta-da.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
What in blazes goes on inside that head of yours?
0345 6060 973. And in relation to that whole Taylor Swift issue about me not being able to remember or not knowing any of the songs that she plays, me not being a 12-year-old girl, John says, when you listen to Led Zeppelin in the 1970s, could your dad name any of their songs? Absolutely, no. But, you know, Led Zeppelin's songs weren't about boyfriends and handbags or whatever it is that she sings about. I've got absolutely no idea. They were about, you know, grown-up things like goblins and wizards. 0345 6060 973. Heston, Isaac.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Right. 2 extremely quick things before I make my 3 points, yeah? Right.
Wait a minute. You got 5. That's 5.
Yes. But I mean, the 3 were planned, but the 2 were unplanned. So I'll be quick with the 2 unplanned, yeah?
Okay.
Right, okay. Yeah, Steve Wright. Yes, I remember Steve Wright, yeah. I'm so angry, I'm going to put the phone down.
Right, okay.
Right?
Next.
And the other one is the inventor of the internet was Tim Berners-Lee.
Yeah,
right?
there's no evidence to suggest that is correct. Next.
Okay, next. Right, now, my main point is earlier, one of your callers or people who texted in said, what are you and other people going to do for satire if, you know, the Labour Party get in? Well, as far as I'm concerned, it's easy. We've got the Conservatives, we've got 14 years of this Tory government, you know, there's plenty of satire there.
Oh, yeah.
And also...
we've got years of material to get through, that's right.
Absolutely, yeah. And also, there'll be, if they lose the election, they'll be shouting from the sides in opposition. So... plenty of satire. Don't worry for you.
Yeah, I think the Labour Party will provide us with their own satire on a daily basis as well. And of course, we've got that orange clown in America.
You're just a lightweight. Don't talk to me that way. Don't talk to... I'm the President of the United States. Don't ever talk to the President that way.
I will not talk to the President that way.
Next one is, right, now, it's the England fans in Germany. Now, I'm wondering if they've all got postal votes or proxy votes, you know, all the thousands of England fans in Germany. Yeah. Now, I've looked at the fixture list, right? And if England get to the, was it the semi-final? The quarter-final. Yeah. The quarter-final is on the 5th and 6th of June.
Right.
So, therefore, they won't be back in time for the 4th of July. 5th and 6th of July.
July, yeah.
5th and 6th of July, yeah. So they won't be back in time to a vote, you know, unless they suddenly all rush home, vote, and come back for the quarter-final. So, yeah.
Yeah, well...
Yeah, look at the fixture list.
those numpties should have got themselves a postal vote. Yes.
Absolutely. And finally, I'm reading this off of a YouTube playlist, okay? Taylor Swift songs, okay? So let's start quickly. There's 30 of them. Oh. And there's Blank Space,
no.
Fortnight,
no.
Shake It Off,
no.
You Belong With Me,
no.
Look What You've Made, Bad Blood,
no,
Wildest Dreams, Style, We Are Never Never.
No, it's a no from me. I haven't heard of any of those songs, but thanks for the suggestions, Isaac. Vivian says, Taylor Swift gave a large donation to a food bank in Liverpool when she was performing there. Thank you, Taylor Swift.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Chris, what's that got to do with anything? Are you suggesting that because she made a large donation to a food bank in Liverpool that I should have heard of some of her songs, or are you just giving me random facts about Taylor Swift? I'm sure she's a delightful person in every regard. Chris says, but you know, she's just not for me. I mean, she's like children's music, right? Isn't it children's music? Chris says, British tea versus foreign coffee. Where in Britain is all this tea grown and produced? Yorkshire, Chris. Yorkshire. And Emma in Fulham says, I hate to tell you, Nick, but your Alan Bennett impression sounds like Gavin Williamson. That is totally untrue. That sounds like Gavin Williamson. This sounds like Gavin Williamson.
Oh, hello there. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, you're right. It was a little bit like that, yeah. Let's see now. Camden. Hello, Claire.
Hi, Nick.
Claire.
I want to ask, what level of sociopathy or psychopathy must one be in order to say that the situation in the UK is a mess, after having shouted loudly and the loudest and the longest to make people vote Brexit
for the mess.
and I mean Farage, the man called Farage. He doesn't deserve a name. That's why I call him Farage.
Right. He's not a number. He's a free man.
I call him Farage because
that's his name.
He does not deserve a name.
Well,
Farage means stuffing, and Farage is also the food farmers give to livestock in winter when there is no grass for them to.
Are you saying forage?
Farage.
Farage. Right. I'm unfamiliar with that, not being a farmer and all. But I'll take your word for it. You're in the farming community of Camden.
And also, how deeply must one be, or profoundly must one be lobotomized in order to say, I'll vote for him, for Farage again, because he says the truth?
Well, it does. I mean, not talking about individuals specifically, but it does get my goat that people do call in. I tweeted this today. I'm a very bad social media performer. If you want a social media performer, then James O'Brien is your person. Because he comes out with, excellent original material, apparently like 24 hours a day. The man never stops. He's like a machine.
Affirmative.
But me, I'm not. I like every week or so, I'll think of something to say. But I said that today that it's becoming a bit tiresome to have people call in all the time and tell me that some inveterate liar is a person who tells it like it is. And they'll say it about certain politicians in this country, and they'll say it absolutely about Donald Trump in America.
Oh, shut up!
A man who tells, who has told verifiably more lies during his presidency than all of the other presidents in America put together.
I can be more presidential than anybody.
Now, I don't know that that's a fact, but we're not dealing in facts anymore. We're dealing in feelings now, baby. There is no such thing as facts as far as Donald Trump is concerned. He doesn't deal in facts. He just makes stuff up and throws it out there. And his audience of poorly educated people just lap it up, including when he tells them that they're poorly educated.
I love the poorly educated.
He said to a crowd of poorly educated people, and they whooped and cheered. He is laughing at you, and you're still cheering for him. And telling us that he tells it like it is. He doesn't. He tells it like it isn't. And there's a lot of people in our political system in this country that seem to be copying him because they see that it's a route to success. And it is. The man's practically taken over America. Only by a slim margin is he not the dictator of America right now. And so, regardless of how our election goes, we'll still have that to look forward to all the way up till November, and then the doubtless
incidents and carryings on that will go on in the months between November and January, when the next president is sworn in, assuming that America still exists at that point. I've got to go, Claire, but thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Hubert texts, Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web, not the Internet. They're not the same thing. Aren't they? What's the World Wide Web then? Not the... and by the way, at the beginning of the Internet, it seems like both so long ago and relatively recently that we were being introduced to the World Wide Web, which I thought was the Internet, but never mind. And he could have called it anything. I don't know whether he gave it that name, Tim Berners-Lee, but he or whoever came up with World Wide Web could have called it anything. But they went with World Wide Web, which if you say it more than about 2 or 3 times, gives you like a stitch in your mouth. It's also shortened is www, and W is the only letter in the alphabet that has more than 1 syllable. It doesn't just have more than 1, it's got 3. So at the beginning of the Internet, people were reading out website addresses as www. Which means you've said 10 syllables before you've said anything. That's just a lack of clarity in thinking, isn't it? I'm not saying the people who invented the World Wide Web were idiots, but they didn't think about what they were doing. A moment's thought would have solved that problem. www. The shortened version takes even longer to say than the long version. I'm just saying. Somebody should look into that.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
You're joking.
Talking about the World Wide Web, by the way, there was hot news that was reported in the Mail today. Did you see this? Since it was first proposed in 1950, passing the Turing test has been seen as one of the highest goals in artificial intelligence. The Turing test, introduced by Second World War codebreaker Alan Turing in 1950, you might have seen him on the back of some of your money. He predicted that computers would one day be programmed to acquire abilities rivaling human intelligence.
Correct.
And he proposed a test which would identify whether a computer is capable of thought. And the test is, can a human being tell whether they're talking to another human being or a computer? Researchers claim now that ChatGPT has become the first artificial intelligence to pass this famous test. Cognitive scientists, experts yet, from the University of California in San Diego, said that the ChatGPT Mark IV can fool human test subjects more than half of the time. The researchers asked 500 participants to speak with 4 different agents, that's 3 different artificial intelligence bots, and 1 human. They were placed in a chat room, told they either needed to convince the other person that they were human or figure out if they were talking to a human or a robot. And then they were left to chat for 5 minutes before being asked whether they thought it was a computer or a human on the other side. And ChatGPT-4 was labelled by participants as a human being 54% of the time, which means that it is able to pass itself off as a human more frequently than chance would suggest by flipping a coin. And, by the way, participants only correctly identified humans in 67% of conversations. So it's happened. And we're at the foothills now. These researchers say that sufficiently convincing AIs could serve economically valuable client-facing roles that have historically been the preserve of human workers. They could mislead the general public or their own human operators and erode social trust in authentic human interactions. In other words, we are at best about to be fired by a computer chip.
Affirmative.
All those client-facing roles, call centres, helplines, Anything when you're interacting with somebody on the phone or by message can be done by a non-human now. No?
Yes.
Yes. So that's at best. We're about to be given our P45s. At worst, it will become self-aware. And I'm pretty sure I've seen this before. I mean, it's curtains for the human race. But not for the planet. Because we pour excrement into our water and we pollute the air and we ruin the ground for money. And I'm pretty sure that the world will get along just fine without us.
Correct.
Yeah. It's just human beings that have got a problem with that. And when Skynet does become self-aware and launches missiles here and there, it'll be cockroaches, Ivy, and Keith Richards that will survive.
Rock and roll!
Everything else goes. 0345 6060 973. Cumbernauld, Andrew.
Good evening, Nick. How are you doing today?
Good, thanks.
Yeah. I have a definite memory, going back to Mr. Andy, a definite memory of early 1980s on the school bus coming home of Steve Wright obviously put various phone-in listeners through to Mr. Angry. And one of the listeners blew the lid on who Mr. Angry actually was. Yeah. And the person that's actually behind it, I presume you probably know this.
Well, who is it?
Mike Reid, the disher outer of the TE mugs, was the actual person behind Mr. Angry.
There's something about mugs? What was that?
Yeah, Mike Reid, the other Radio 1 DJ, Mike Reid, who spent some of his time dishing out TE mugs. He was actually Mr. Angry.
Right. I did not know that.
And basically one of Steve Wright in the Afternoon's listeners blew it. And I've a definite recollection that Mr. Angry was either dropped or at least dropped for a period because basically the game was up as far as Mr. Angry was concerned. Everybody then knew who it actually was.
Yeah, I don't think it would have mattered one way or the other. And I doubt that that's true. But thanks for the recollection, Andrew. 0345 6060 973. Gary says, I've just looked into the www problem and I have a solution. Say it like an infant. Woo, 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 dot. Proof that we should listen to the younger generation. Let's see. Oh. Okay. No. Someone else. Get me somebody else. Mike texts, the internet consists of various services, the web, email, FTP, whatever that is, Telnet, never heard of it, and others. Stick around, you might learn something. What a way to run a radio program. Gary just read that. Lulu texts, Lulu, both my daughters went to see the Taylor Swift thing last night at £400 a ticket.
What?
What? What? £400 a ticket? She says they are 23 and 26, so as they are my children, does that make it children's music? My youngest went again today on a cheaper ticket too, and no, I did not give them the ticket money they saved up. £400 a ticket? Who is the support act? The Rolling Stones? Were the Lights by Pink Floyd? How can it be £400 a ticket? That's ridiculous. The price of everything has gone insane, hasn't it? I remember I saw... the second gig I ever saw was at Celtic Park. In fact, a ticket came up for it, for I think the Charlton leg of this gig. They did one at Charlton, one at Celtic Park in Glasgow, and I think one in maybe Cardiff. I can't remember what the third one was. It was The Who. The Who and the sensational Alex Harvey Band and Little Feat and Chapman Whitney Streetwalkers and the Outlaws all on the same bill, and I think the price was £3. 3. It may have been 5. But it certainly wasn't £400 or even close to the equivalent in 1976. That's insane. £400 a ticket. It can't possibly have been worth that, unless money means nothing to your children, Lulu. In which case, I blame the parents for not instilling the value of money in your offspring. Guilty. Daniel says, yes, Taylor Swift is children's music. Just read the lyrics of any of her songs. Sophomoric at best. I won't. I don't want to, and you can't make me. And Peter messages, FTP is foul transfer protocol. I doubt that. Foul? That can't be true. I think you're making it up. Oldbury, Ranjit.
I thought he was probably avoiding me then, saying, oh, get somebody else, not Ranjit, and kill a bit more time. Is that true?
Not specifically at you, no. But I have a I have a switchboard that's full of characters. Let's put it like that.
full moon ones.
Yes.
Nick, okay. You've got a list of people that you want to see on election day that lose their seat, yeah?
Yes, I do.
Have you got a top 5?
Yeah, but I'm not sharing it with you. That's going to have to be secret until after the election.
Okay, I'm going to have a guess.
No. You can't guess. There's rules and regulations about that sort of stuff. And after the election, I'll share it with you, but not before.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Steve Wright, yeah? I used to listen to him when I was a kid as well, yeah? He used to have the guys that were reversing the truck. You remember that one?
No.
Okay, never mind. The other one was Gervais, the one that used to go, stick your tongue out, sailor. But my serious problem, my suggestion is, Nigel Farage now, yeah? Okay? All these Tories that are saying we're going to welcome him in, yeah? What does that show about their credibility, about what he's been saying about the Tories now? He says he wants to destroy them. Yeah, virtually.
Well, I imagine he is looking at his best mate in the whole wide world, Donald Trump, and seeing how easy it was for Donald Trump to perform a reverse takeover of the Republican Party in America. He just took over the world's most successful and richest political party, and he did it at a stroll. He didn't even really try. He just rolled over them, and they rolled on their backs and wanted him to scratch their tummies. It's amazing how easy it was.
Yeah, because he was with the Clintons and he was with Bushes as well. He's on both sides, and he said he was only going to stand on the winning side, and he went in. But what would that mean about the Tory party, yeah? If they let him in after all he's done? Because I think, us British people, we still uphold a bit of democracy, right? And if he was let in, what would that say about the Tory party? I think they'd have to change the name.
Well, they would say we are a broad church.
No, you can't call it a broad church. I think it's ridiculous because, you know what, I would never let someone into my party who has said that many bad things about me.
Yeah, it's your party and you can cry if you want to. Gotta go, Ranjit. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it is @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Listen to him. He knows everything. Thank you for holding. Your call is important to us.
Your call is important to us, Suresh. You're in Milton Keynes, but you know that.
Yeah, hi. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, it's the first time calling. I was just going to ask you, what's your opinion on young influencers, such as like Nico Milana, for example, running as MPs in politics, and what influence getting votes for 16-year-olds that the MPs are now going to debate soon would have in future elections. So, for example, like Nico, when he ran for London Mayor, he booted out Lawrence Fox. Well, he prevented Lawrence Fox from getting like a highest independent majority. So, do you think you'll see more and more like influencers taking part in elections to change our political landscape?
Influencers. Oh, I mean, what is that? To me, it's the current version of I just want to be famous. I don't want to have to do anything for a living. I just want to point my phone at my face and pose just so for a living. You know, kids used to want to be rock stars and firemen and astronauts and footballers and stuff, and now they just want to pose for selfies. For crying out loud, it's so desperately pathetic, is my opinion.
Have you ever looked into Nico Milana?
No, I do not know.
Okay.
I'm just looking at I'm just looking at a picture of him now. Those are the worst pair of sunglasses I've ever seen in my life. He's got a pair of green sunglasses on his face, which look like they're made for about the size of a head that you get on an action man. That's terrible. So he needs a stylist's intervention, that influencer.
Yeah, so he started off doing prank videos where he'd go interviews people like the head of the KKK and basically make a fool out of themselves just to show people that like you shouldn't really follow these kind of people.
Right.
And now he's slowly trying to improve the demographic of like the younger generation to increase their awareness of elections and their importance.
Well, they can't vote until they're 18, so 16-year-olds, it don't make no never mind.
Exactly. So do you think that would have much impact in the future?
Well, it depends on whether, A, Labour win the election, and B, they go through with their the threat, as the Conservatives would put it, to lower the voting age to 16, which I think they absolutely should do. But it probably won't affect any elections subsequently, because even 18 to 20-year-olds can't be bothered to vote, so why would 16 to 18-year-olds vote?
That is very true. That is very true.
But if that's what he's doing, if he's trying to, get the kids interested in what is going to affect their lives, because they might not be interested in politics, but politics is going to affect them whether they're interested in it or not, then I think that would be a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But about this bloke that you mentioned, I don't know anything at all. First I've heard of him.
Oh, I see. In terms of the other caller, by the way, FTP is File Transfer Protocol.
File Transfer Protocol. That makes more sense, yeah. I still don't know what it means, but it makes more sense. All right.
It's the way websites...
No, please don't tell me. Please don't tell me. I am begging you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Suresh. 0345 6060 973. Jennifer says, you're right. You wouldn't like Taylor Swift's music. She is by far the finest lyricist of her generation, and you're just not interested in lyrics.
Correct.
No, I'm not. Not really. I never listen to lyrics because they're usually not worth listening to, are they? Or you can't understand what they're saying. I mean, Elton John, you can pretty much not understand a single word that man sings. Led Zeppelin, we were talking about them earlier. I challenge you to sing an entire Led Zeppelin, not Stairway to Heaven, any of their other ones. What is that man saying? You got no idea. It's just a noise to me. It's just another musical instrument, the human voice. I'm generally not interested in lyrics, although some do. I do absorb them by osmosis and find myself singing along to them. I can sing along to, pretty much everything David Bowie ever did, even though to me, they don't actually mean anything. I mean, to him, they probably do. Little snapshots, well, that's exactly what they are, the sort of snapshots of his life put down, and as a story, they mean nothing. But they mean something to him. Like holiday snaps in word form. 0345 6060 973. Selzy. Maxine.
Hello.
Yes, Maxine.
How are you, my darling? I ain't spoken to you for ages.
Haven't I been lucky?
Yes, so have I. Now, you know I always send you pictures. I like to send you, not the naughty ones, if you don't mind, 'cause I'm not that sort of person, but I like to tell you about my baby pigeons.
I do recall a while ago, you sent me a hideous picture of baby pigeons, yes.
Yep, and I send you a picture of my squirrels.
I don't recall that.
Did you see the picture of my hedgehog?
I don't recall that either.
Well, I sent it earlier on. Look, I got someone that wants to talk to you. This is my African grey parrot, right? He might talk to you. What are you going to say to Nick Abbot? Is he a sexy man? George? They don't like you.
Tell him this from me. All right. Thanks, Maxine. I've got to go. It's not that kind of show. I mean, not really. No, it really isn't. Kevin says, I seem to recall that concert tickets in the 1970s used to cost roughly the same as an album. Yeah, that sounds about right. And albums didn't cost that much either. I mean, what's a vinyl album these days? It's something like £25, something like that. There's absolutely no way that an album used to cost the equivalent back then, you know, accounting for inflation. It did not cost £25. It just didn't. As a school kid, I was buying albums and singles with the dinner money that I was supposed to be spending on food. I used to save it up and buy albums instead. Buy a bag of chips with some sauce because it was Embra. Sauce all over it. Very sticky brown sauce. Ooh, so yummy. Not like vinegar, the rest of the country. Embra, it was brown sauce. But not HP sauce. It was, I've got no idea how they manufactured it. I think it was a combination of HP sauce and vinegar somehow. Anyway, it got everywhere. The stickiness was just awful. But, you know, you'd wipe it on your school uniform and just carry on regardless. Yes, the stuff did not cost as much then as it does now, even accounting for inflation. It's just ridiculous how much stuff is now. And, you know, the Prime Minister will say, well, you know, because of my plan...
We have a plan, or you just go back to square one.
Because of the plan, and the plan is working, inflation is now down to 2%, he'll say, and that puts money back in your pocket. No, it doesn't. Why do they keep saying that, as though we're too stupid to figure out that it does nothing of the sort? That if inflation used to be, let's say, 20%, now it's 2%, I mean, that's better than if it was still 20, but prices are still going up. They're not going down, and they're going up from a higher level. I mean, any fool know that, which makes it all the more extraordinary that they keep saying it. That as inflation has come down, that it's more money in your pocket. They must think we're idiots. It's actually annoying that they think that we're stupid enough to buy that. And, by the way, that inflation has come down as the result of their plan. Really. If inflation has come down as a result of their plan, then two questions. One, why did they let it go up so much in the first place, if they could affect it so? And second, why didn't they reduce it more quickly? Why did they let it stay up for such a long time if their plan would result in it coming down? Plan. You just wait till it happens and then take credit for it. It's like me saying I've got a plan for the sun rising in the east tomorrow and then taking credit for it when it happens. Ah, well, there you are, you see. There's my plan. It's working. We've become a silly country. Julia says it's file transfer protocol. I know now, but it still doesn't make any sense to me. I've got no idea what that means. And neither does anybody else. That's just a fact. And Di says human beings are festooned with Genghis Khan's DNA, one of the few guilty pleasures that homicidal maniacal dictators can legitimately enjoy. Which makes as much sense as anything else that you've heard on this show today. No idea. 0345 6060 973. Brixton. Hello, Clive.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Clive.
I just wanted to let you know, I went to see David Bowie in 1972, and from memory, it was at the Rainbow on a Halloween weekend, and I paid at the door to get in.
No
How
way.
much do you reckon it cost me?
You showed up without a ticket?
I showed up, yeah, you could pay on the door back then. I showed up without a ticket.
And that would have been the Aladdin Sane tour?
No. Ziggy had just hit.
Oh.
Ziggy had just hit the album charts. Like Bowie's career was now
taking off
like a rocket.
Yeah.
Now, so I bowled up at the Rainbow, and it was a Halloween weekend gig at the Rainbow, and it was I'm sure it was 1972. Yeah, Ziggy had just gone into the charts. And how much do you reckon I paid to get in at the door, Nick?
One of the most famous gigs of all time. I'm going to say something ridiculous, like £2.
Well, actually, you're not too far away. It was actually £4.50.
£4.50, right?
Yeah.
See, that took the wind out of your sails. I should have guessed higher, and then you would have been able to...
Yeah, and then work down from that.
Exactly right. Yeah, I screwed that up. Sorry about that.
Now, my adjunct is, I then, in 1983, you know, the Serious Moonlight Tour.
Oh, I saw that.
I wanted tickets for the Wembley gig, but I was actually issued tickets for Milton Keynes.
Yeah, I was at Milton Keynes.
Oh, and it was horrendous, wasn't it?
Awful. It was so hot. It was baking, and there's no shade at Milton Keynes.
No, yeah, because it's a bowl, isn't it? It's a great big bowl.
Yes, it's awful.
And
the gig
Bowie was throwing water down, wasn't he, on the people at the front?
The gig itself was not good. It was too much acting.
Yeah.
You know, I always felt that he was a bit uncomfortable on stage, and that's why he did all that acting stuff.
I've got to say that he didn't like much doing the Milton Keynes one. Like, I think he thought that, like, he could have got a better venue.
Yeah,
you know?
it was a terrible venue. And then you remember the problem of getting out as well. I mean, it was a terrible day, but when it was over, getting out was a nightmare as well. It took hours.
Yeah, I paid 30 quid for that, and I thought I was hard done by.
Did you get one of those little balloons? Those little moon balloons?
No, I've got to tell you, you know what I did? I sold the ticket because I couldn't be asked to go to Milton Keynes.
Oh, you didn't go?
No, I didn't go. But I had the video of it, and I was so glad that I didn't go.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And I thought, no, I did quite well because I sold the ticket for 40 quid.
Well, that's not bad going. Yeah. Then how did you know that it was such a hot day and the conditions were so bad? If you didn't go.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know because I had the video and I was able to see like the
misery
of that day.
The human misery. Yeah, I was in amongst that misery, and I was standing up at the front for about at least an hour before he came on because I wanted to get up the front. And I think it was August, and it was so hot. And at the moment that he came on, I just sort of blacked out. I couldn't take it anymore, and I fell to my knees and crawled to the side where there weren't very much people, and asked a passerby if they could give me some water. I was in real trouble that day. Yeah, not good, quite unpleasant. My least favourite David Bowie gig that I saw quite a few. The most extraordinary one, I think, was probably Tin Machine. And it was in a tiny little place, Finchley, somewhere like that. And the interest was almost zero at that gig. I mean, there was hardly anybody there, really, like couple of hundred people. You could just walk straight in, no crowds outside, nothing. Just because it wasn't David Bowie, it was called something else.
and he came on very low key, started playing, and I thought, this is the worst sound I've ever heard of any concert I've ever been to. I thought David Bowie, the money he's made, could surely get a better PA system than this knackered, broken down bunch of speakers that this noise, this unintelligible noise was coming out of. And it took me about 3 songs, and I thought, and then you could sort of detect a tune in there, and once you'd got tuned into it, you thought, oh, there it is. And from that moment on, it was just absolutely phenomenal. Just to see him in a room, with not many people, standing up, him doing his thing, near enough to touch. Marvellous. Thanks, Clive.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Hi, honey. How are you?
I'm super. Thanks for asking. 0345 6060 973. Mookie text, do you think that proportional representation would increase voter turnout, especially among young people? I'm not sure. I mean, I think that we probably could benefit from proportional representation. It does seem a bit weird that we just hand over the dictatorship of this country from one party to the next, every 5 or 10 years or so. And most people's votes don't count. We're led by a party that won less than half of all the votes. That just seems weird. But when it would revivify the interest in politics among young people, I'm not sure. I mean, if they're not interested now, after everything that has happened to them during their entire lives because of politicians, then they're never going to get interested. I mean, what is it going to take? Hey, sheeple, wake up. It's later than you think. Jay says, could you give a big shout out to my partner Stacey, as we've had a few words tonight. I just want to say I love her. No, Jay. No, I cannot. You do it. It'll be more significant coming from you. Believe me. Sam Batch. Hello, John.
I was listening to Sky this morning on the news. Well, not this morning. It was yesterday morning now. And he was talking about the water problems, and it seems as though he's a spokesman for the Labour Party.
Who?
Fergal Sharkey.
Oh, Fergal Sharkey. Yeah. Well, he's not a spokesman for the Conservative Party. He's a spokesman for clean water.
Yeah.
That's his issue.
Yeah, and it was brilliant. He was saying things about, how we're being ripped off and we take all this stuff off them and how much there's a bill coming up for us and the water bills are going to increase. And he'd be saying, what for? We've given him that billions and billions of money and we got nothing in return except maybe nearly poisoned.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, he's such a good speaker.
Fergal Sharkey, yes. And here, there were 2 rockers in the news today. There was Fergal Sharkey, the ex-lead singer of... oh, God. As I started that sentence, I thought, oh, no, I've just forgotten. Fergal Sharkey, my perfect cousin, that guy.
Irish fella.
Yeah. What's the band?
I haven't got a clue.
Oh, come on. What's the band?
Don't ask me.
Oh, please. This is ridiculous. Fergal Sharkey out of The Undertones.
That's it.
Oh.
You speak all the group called The Undertakers.
Painful.
I don't think you was them.
The Undertones, yes. Now, you could, as an ex-rocker, lead your life like Fergal Sharkey out of The Undertones. Or you could lead your life as an ex-rocker like Bob Geldof, who is in the news today. I'm in Fergal Sharkey's camp.
I'm an Northern Soul man, so it doesn't mean nothing to me.
Right, okay.
The other thing is that Taylor Swift, my late wife used to be a country fan, but Taylor Swift started off as a country western singer.
Oh, yeah.
And this is memory, because I can't Google or anything like that. This is memory, and her parents were classical musicians. She was classically trained. And this is memory, and and that's how she got into country western singing, and that's how she started.
Taylor
as a
Swift.
Country singer.
Right. Well, I did not know that, and this is more information. Very informational show. Yes?
No.
Not really.
Not really, no.
Not really, no.
Just to let you know.
Yeah. Okay. Good work. Thanks a lot, John. Yeah, the water. Keep in mind that we are the only country in the world that has been stupid enough to sell off all of our water. The only one. Just us. More than 10,000 people have been hospitalised with waterborne diseases since the last election. 10,000 people. The number of people diagnosed in hospital with diseases that can be transmitted through waters like typhoid and salmonella and E. coli has doubled in the past 2 years alone. 603 cases of typhoid fever were recorded last year, which is more than double the year before, but is perfectly normal in a well-run country. Environment Agency data found last year that the worst for sewage spills, it was the worst for sewage spills since records began, as in ever, last year. Sewage was discharged for 4 million hours across the UK in 2023. All over us. How's that close scrutiny of the water companies working out, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
Labour's Shadow Environment Secretary Steve Reed said it is sickening that the Conservative sewage scandal has put over 10,000 people in hospital. He said they just folded their arms and looked the other way while the water companies pumped a tidal wave of raw sewage into our rivers and lakes and seas, putting the nation's health at risk. It's time for change. He said the next Labour government will put the water companies under special measures and strengthen regulation to force them to clean up their act. And that won't affect their performance one bit. I betcha. Betcha, betcha, betcha. I mean, the threat of unlimited fines hasn't affected their performance one bit, so why should whatever the Labour Party say they're going to do? I mean, the water companies just price in any fines as the cost of doing business. It's just a small number in their balance sheet above the absolutely massive number that is the profits and the value that they've drained out of the business. Meanwhile, the Lib Dems vowed to award rivers and lakes blue flag status to protect them from sewage dumping. Leader Ed Davey said water firms are destroying our precious rivers and chalk streams, all while making massive profits. He said Conservative ministers have let these water firms get away with it for too long, while their toothless schemes have failed to protect swimmers and wildlife. You know, I'm not a betting man, but I would wager a small amount that toothless schemes continue to be the thing for the foreseeable future, just like we're not going to do anything about climate change. Because there's too much money being made, and politicians, traitors not only to the country but to the human race, will take what is essentially a bribe to keep the cash flowing, and to hell with the future of the rest of us. It's all about the money, honey. And Fergal Sharkey, bless him, who has crusaded to clean up Britain's rivers, said under the Tories, we are witnessing an unprecedented attack on our environment, with record levels of sewage dumping into our rivers. After years of inaction, it's time for change. But I seriously doubt we're going to get any. Because there's just too many people making too much money. I mean, it's not many people, but it's a lot of money. Amazing, really. I mean, it's just extraordinary, the things that we do in this country that no one else on earth does. We sold all of our water. What kind of a stupid country would do that? Sell off, as a monopoly, to foreign entities, the most precious thing to life, outside of air. And if they could have sold our air, they'd have done it by now. We'd all be walking around with oxygen tanks on our backs, moaning about the price of them. We're also the only country that made it more difficult to trade with our biggest trading partner. No other country has ever done that. That's just us too. There seems to be something wrong with us. What's the explanation? Nobody knows.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
blazes goes on inside that head of yours?
Mike says, Elvis Costello, Reckless Eric, Susie and the Banshees, £2 in rafters in Manchester in 1978. Wow, are they all on the same bill? I know Elvis Costello and Reckless Eric toured as part of the Stiff tour, but the Susie and the Banshees weren't on that tour. That was Ian Dury, Elvis Costello, Reckless Eric, Larry Wallace, Police Car, one of my favourite singles ever, and, who was the other one? It was Elvis Costello, Reckless Eric, Ian Dury and the Blockheads, and Larry Wallace. Maybe it was just them. I know I'm missing somebody really obvious. Who is it? Can't recall. Never mind. He says beer was £1 in old money. Around about the same time, you could buy a house in the pub, buy one, get one free. That last part doesn't make sense, but you had me with Elvis Costello, Reckless Eric and Susie and the Banshees for £2. Anne says, we've got to give Farage a chance. He seems to be okay. Is that the best that we can hope for? Okay. And do you mean that he's an okay person, or he seems to be well, as in not ill, like he's okay? How are you doing? Oh, I'm okay. You must be more clear, Anne. And Christo says, the lunacy of the full moon is very evident tonight. You're coping well. Well, I'm almost at the end of my tether. Almost. Let's have Margate. Hello, Martin.
Oh, good evening, Nick. An honour and a privilege as ever, sir. How are you?
Good, thanks.
All right. I was just shivering listening to you talking about the water because I'm one of those 10,000 people that nearly died and was hospitalised by dirty water. I live in Margate, like you say. I live opposite the sea. I can throw a stone into the sea from my lounge. It's a great view. And I'd gone swimming on, I think it was a Wednesday, and by Friday I had a cough. I mean, I do smoke occasionally, but I had a cough that was like nothing I'd ever had. Every time I coughed, it felt like I was being touched in my chest with a red-hot poker. And then Monday morning, I woke up and I went into the bathroom, and the veins on my temples were sticking out 3 inches, and my head had swelled up to like twice. So I know, it was terrifying. So I phoned an ambulance. They come and scraped me up off the floor. Took my temperature, which was 44 degrees.
What?
Yeah, I know. I very, very nearly died. They got me into hospital. They stuck a cannula into me, and it felt like knives being drawn out of my neck, my throat, and my head. I felt a lot better immediately after they flushed me out with this antibiotic, but it took about 3 weeks to get over. There were 2 weeks where I couldn't move, I couldn't walk, I couldn't look at light. And it was just the most difficult physical time of my life. I don't think I'll ever get over it psychologically. I cannot believe how hard and fast this thing just came and grabbed me and put me on the ground and kept me there. It was incredible and scary. And with the weather getting warmer now, I mean, I look out of my window, you see this lovely resource, which is the beach.
Yeah.
And it's completely, there's loads of people on the beach, and the sea is completely empty because word has got round. But it's tragic, really. I've got some dear friends that work in the town. I've got some shops in the town, and their businesses are just dead on their knees because the foot traffic is just not...
I mean, you would have to be out of your mind to go into a body of river in this country now.
Suicidal. It's insane. I look out and I see people... occasionally someone will sort of brave it, and sometimes it's kids' parents letting their kids go in there, and I'm standing there, literally screaming. I don't know what to do. I'm tempted to go down there and approach perfectly straight.
Don't do that.
No, I know, right? But then I don't, obviously. I'm a parent, so I don't do that, but then I worry that these kids are going to end up with sort of typhoid, dysentery, or Legionnaire disease, or something else like that.
So, what did they say that you had?
Well, this is the thing. They never did, and I don't think that's any coincidence, because I think that I suspect that them to say, well, we know what it was, would actually sort of support some kind of like legal action potentially. Because identifying what it is could probably localise where it came from and how it got there, and yada yada yada. I heard the word while I was in the hospital for like a day or so. I heard the word COVID mentioned a couple of times, but they tested me for that, and it wasn't COVID. I knew it wasn't COVID. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it wasn't. So, Yeah, I'm your public health warning. Stay out of the water. There's stuff in there that can and will kill you.
Yes, do not get into a body of water that is not in your own bathroom. Yes.
It's simple. Yeah, be safe out there, folks.
All right. Okay, well, thanks for the bad news, Martin. Cheers for that. Ta-da. 0345 6060 973. It's just amazing. This country did not used to be like that. I mean, it's relatively recently, isn't it, that really all rivers, all beaches, seas, lakes, all of it. Lake Windermere is full of pollution now. One of the most famous bodies of water on Earth. People wrote poems about it. And now it's a no-go area. I saw some people canoeing. Not canoeing exactly, but I guess they were canoes on the Thames. And I thought, do you get the news where you live? Are you insane? Being that close? Because the splash comes up every time you put your paddle in the water. Hey, one thing I saw, because I took the riverboat up to Greenwich this week, and off the side of the boat, around about the city area, I saw a seal in the water.
What?
Yeah, a seal. At first it just looked like a bit of wood, because you couldn't see all of the seal, you just saw its head. And the way a seal sort of pops up, it's like about a foot-long head that's sort of parallel to the water. And at first it didn't really look like anything, but you kept staring at it. Its nose holes were opening and closing, and then it sort of popped up a bit and had a look around and then disappeared down into the water.
Disgusting.
Stupid seal. Must have been lost. Or maybe it had inhaled so much pollution that it had become addled. That seal needs an intervention. But I was very surprised to see actual real wildlife in that water. Maybe it had become accustomed to our, filth. God, doesn't bear thinking about it, does it? Ugh. Jay says, oh no, I've said that one already. Baggy says, just looked at Viagogo for a Taylor Swift ticket in August at Wembley. They're asking for £1,000. Not the price of an album. That is just ridiculous. What's this? Taylor Swift support acts. Is this your information?
That is, Nick. That's all correct.
Paramore, Metty and Griff.
Yeah, I don't know either.
They sound terrific. I've got no idea. And neither am I really particularly interested in, I was going to say interested in new music, but because I've got plenty of music already that I know, you don't really need another decade of music outside of the 1970s. The 1970s had all the music that anybody would ever need for the rest of their lives. You could be completely happy just restricting yourself from with music that came out in the 1970s. That is sufficient for me. But, every now and again, something great does come along, and don't close yourself off to new possibilities. You should be like me, hip and with it. Here is Yorkshire. Hello, Jack.
Hi, Nick.
Jack.
I've just turned the radio down so I don't get any echo. I was just speaking to your colleague about 10 minutes ago. I heard about this evangelical Christian rally that Trump's been doing today. And
I don't think the evangelical Christian people in America are actually religious. They may have convinced themselves that God is on their side, but I seriously doubt that that's true.
Yeah, they just seem to be full of so much hate. It's amazing how people who, love thy neighbour... Yeah,
they define themselves by who they hate. Yes, which is the opposite of anything that Jesus... my knowledge of religion is not that great, but I'm pretty sure that Jesus didn't define himself about who he hated.
Yeah, I've not heard about that part of the Bible, but you never know.
No,
if they read it and we haven't, then who are we to question them?
True enough, yeah.
I was speaking to a colleague because in this speech that Trump's been doing, he mentioned about setting up a UFC fight league for migrants. I kid you not. And he mentioned, I think the migrant guy might win. That's how tough they are. Which he delivered to Dana White, who is the president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC, who didn't really like that idea. He also talked about electric fishing boats.
Oh, God, he's not still on that again, is he?
Yeah, well, whether
he'd prefer to get eaten by a shark or electrocuted by the battery on a sinking boat.
Yeah, he brought that up again. It's just a broken record, isn't it?
Completely, yes. I mean, they're going to have, it's excruciating to even contemplate, but they're going to have a TV debate on Thursday, him and Biden. And it's being organised in a way that doesn't play into Donald Trump's way of organising his rallies and so on, where he just, does that call and response thing like he's doing a pantomime. There's going to be no audience, and they're going to shut the mic off if it's not your turn to speak. So, I don't know. He couldn't even control himself. He couldn't even control himself in court. I seriously doubt he's going to be able to control himself on a TV studio. But that's on Thursday, so I guess we'll see what we get then. I bet he doesn't. Yeah, exactly. I bet he doesn't bring up that whole shark issue then.
I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words.
All right, thanks, Jack. 0345 6060 973. Just keep that in mind. I mean, we can't go swimming in our rivers and we can't go swimming in our lakes, and you can't go anywhere near the sea in this country. And we're the only country in the world that has tried to make it more difficult to trade with our biggest trading partners. And it's just been a clown show from one catastrophic leader to the next. But at least we aren't the laughing stock of the world, while Donald Trump's still at large.
Oh, shut up! This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Luton, Chris.
Hi, Nick.
Chris.
I just wanted to share my experience about seeing the Beatles. My mum took me to the Odeon in Luton when I was 6 to see the Beatles, and we were there in the stalls, and the screaming was so loud you just couldn't hear a thing. So I asked my mum, I thought, I know what to do. I'll ask if I can go to the toilet. And anyone who knows the old Odeon cinemas knows the toilets were in the corners, so I basically had to go down the front. And as I walked past, right at the front, watching the Beatles, looking up, gazing at them, John Lennon winked at me.
And you haven't washed your hands since?
Well, the thing is, I've relayed this story so many times, and people just look at me like I'm a complete nutter. But why would you make that up?
No, yeah, right. Well, yes.
You know, he did. John Lennon actually looked down at me, and he was, bending his knees, playing "Love, Love Me Do" or whatever, and just winked at me. And it's just obviously stayed with me. I mean, he didn't follow me in the toilet or anything, but really, it is the truth. And I just want to share that because no one ever believes me. They just laugh at me when I tell them and think I'm just attention seeking, but I'm not. It was the truth. Well,
I believe you, Chris. If it's any consolation.
Thanks, Nick.
All right. Thanks, mate. 0345 6060 973. Mark says, I think your Bowie caller may have been on the source. I think your Bowie caller may have been on the source. Bowie was playing in Portland in the US on Halloween in 1972. He played in the Rainbow in August and Christmas Eve in 1972. Pedantic, I know, says Mark. Tony texts, they sold the air to industry and the airlines. I suppose, in a way they did, yeah. Chris says, Taylor Swift is to music as Pop-Tarts are to an atrocious breakfast.
You know, one of these days I'm going to listen to one of her songs. You see if I don't. Rob says, are we at the stage where it's easier to name Conservative Party officials not gambling on a July election? Yeah, the latest one's called Nick Mason, not the drummer with Pink Floyd.
Rock and roll!
I'm pretty sure that's not it's a different Nick Mason, somebody else entirely. Speaking of which, Mark says, I saw Pink Floyd at Newcastle City Hall in 1975. The first half was Dark Side of the Moon. The second half was a preview of Wish You Were Here. All for £1.50.
What?
£1.50. You've got to be kidding me. Plus a couple of quid for a bottle of red martini to drink on the coach. Oh.
Disgusting.
Red martini? I mean, no offence to the good people that make red martini. I'm sure it's an excellent beverage in every regard, but I wouldn't want to drink it neat on a coach. Dublin, Shane.
Hello, Nick.
Shane.
The price of concert tickets, you're right, is absolutely outrageous. I have paid €206 per ticket to see Taylor Swift on Sunday.
Oh.
That's not the worst, though, because I just did a search on Paul McCartney, and a platinum ticket, I don't know what you get with a platinum ticket, but it's £750 per ticket.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
And that's not even standing, it's sitting. So it's incredible.
How much money does Paul McCartney need, for crying out loud? I mean, maybe he has no control over ticket prices, but even so, if I was as powerful as Paul McCartney, I would make certain that tickets did not get sold at 700 quid. Is that face value?
It is, yeah, face value. It's a platinum ticket. I don't know what comes with it now. It's probably the best view in the house, but you're sitting down.
You know what? I bet it isn't the best view in the house.
Performing with him.
Yeah, I bet it's not the best view in the house. I saw the Rolling Stones once, and they were selling tickets for people on stage. They sort of built this set where people could sit in the set on stage, but that meant that they were staring at the back of Mick Jagger. They had the worst view in the house, and I bet they paid the most for it.
I think there's something magical about concerts, though. I went to one just there yesterday, Pink. What a performance, and just this kind of effort that she puts into it. Like, I've been to a few concerts where they play songs and you're bored or that you're not really sure of, but she was unreal. So, but I have to bear my inner defenders with Taylor Swift because of all the screaming girls. The magic of her, I think, is that she has so many songs that people older would have listened to when they were teenagers, and she re-released them. So she's captured everyone, the adults who want to relive their childhood or their adolescence, and their daughters or sons or whatever, because they're listening to it too.
I am vaguely aware that she had some problem with her record label, didn't she?
That's correct, yeah.
And,
she lost the rights.
Yeah, something like that. She lost the rights to her records. So she pulled this genius move of re-recording all of her albums and then releasing them as essentially new products, but it was just a re-record of the albums that she... nobody has ever done that, have they?
No, I don't believe so. It's quite new. And the best thing was she could write it the way she wanted. There was a song that I think she had 7 minutes long, and she had to cut it down to obviously 3 minutes and 45 or whatever it usually is. But because this was her album, she just did the whole song.
Yeah.
And her voice had changed and it was different. So she is a great singer now.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll maybe I'll make an effort to listen rather than just comment about something that I don't know anything about. How's that sound?
I also had the same issue you had, where you get an album and you're constantly repeating it. And a US band, Cage the Elephant, released a brand new album, and I'm just listening to it forever. And I kind of I can suffer a bit with mental health. And I think music is a big thing that really, really helps. And you can kind of get yourself into constantly listening to it. And TV, I have to thank you for Beavis and Butthead and South Park, because there's nothing in it for your brain. You just sit and watch and laugh.
Yeah, you just put your brain into neutral and coast along, yeah.
But I'm a bit concerned about Beavis and Butthead because there's a lot of animal abuse in it.
It's just a cartoon, Shane. Don't worry about it.
No, it's about, they talk about choking chickens.
Yeah, all of that stuff, yeah. No chickens were hurt in the making of that cartoon. Thanks a lot, mate.
Oh, here's the information. What have you found?
A little bit about being ripped off by Paul McCartney.
Well, it's not Paul McCartney, I'm sure. He just shows up and does his routine. It's the people who are selling the tickets that are responsible for these prices. Tickets in section 313. This is the Manchester Evening News. Are available at £418.60 each. These are classed as official platinum tickets, but do not include any additional benefits to standard tickets. What? They do not include any additional benefits to standard tickets. Well, how much is a standard ticket? I know, work. And you had your feet up and you were smoking a cheroot thinking it's going to be, I'll just coast to the end of the show now. It's only 5 minutes and I've laid this on you. Sorry about that. Tickets in section 313 are available for £418.60 each. These are classed as official platinum tickets, but do not include any additional benefits to standard tickets. On its website, Ticketmaster says these are premium tickets made available by artists and event organisers through Ticketmaster. They give fans safe and fair access to some of the most in-demand tickets. Fair? I don't think so. That is just crazy. No, even Paul McCartney is not worth £418.60. It just isn't. It goes on. The ticket screen for the second night of the Co-op Live shows some of the cheapest options still available. In section 104, they are available for £592.25 each. So, please form an orderly queue. Billionaires only. That is mad. I just wouldn't go. I mean, no. Absolutely, no. Even if I had the money and even though I was desperate to go, I just wouldn't do it on principle. That's ridiculous. Everybody involved should be ashamed. Not necessarily Paul McCartney himself, because he might not have anything to do with this, but even so, ridiculous. Who can afford that? It's just wrong, is what it is. I'm not going, and I feel like I've been abused. Tristan says, stop picking on Nigel Farage. Leave him alone. He's doing his best. Hungerford. Hello, Doris.
Hello, Nick.
Doris.
I'm very concerned about your voice.
Yeah, me too.
I've got one tip. I used to have a lot of problems. My grandmother always made me wear a silk scarf round the neck because keeping your muscles warm helps. Like when you wear leg warmers when you go jogging.
I've never worn leg warmers when I've gone jogging, and neither have I ever gone jogging.
No, I know, but wear a silk scarf to keep your muscles around your neck warm. And the other thing is, I was listening to an interview with Tom Jones, and he was asked if he ever had any problems with his voice. And he said once he went on a tour in Berlin and couldn't sing, and he saw a specialist, and he was told that the air was very dry. And he said the same happened in Las Vegas. So he always kept a sort of moisture spray with him.
Tom Jones?
Yes.
Right, he's from Wales, of course, where the air is never dry. And so he didn't need to take a moisture spray when he was wandering around, Rill or Prestatyn, because, constantly wet. Yeah. All right. Thanks for the good advice, Doris. I appreciate it. Let's see.
Now. Chris says, I think that we should resolve the election between Sunak and Starmer like the Two Tribes video by Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Rock and roll!
Yes, I think you're completely correct in every respect. And that sort of ties a bow on the show, because that is the exact song that I referenced right at the beginning of this programme. Wow, it's almost like this show had been planned. Yes?
No.
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 Yes?
No.